morning. It's Sunday, Lag BaOmer, Chai Iyar, Tavshin Ayin Daled. We're in Teres Menachem Sefer HaMamorim, Tavshin Yud Aleph, Tavshin Yud Beis, in the Maimer of Shabbos Parsha Shmini. Mevorach Machedesh Iyar, Tavshin Yud Beis, Zeh Yatzartah. Livyasan Zeh Yatzartah. And we are on page Reish Pei. The Rebbe in this Maimer discusses the two types of neshamas that there are, neshamas that are called Livyasan, Leviathan, and neshamas that are called Shiur, the wild ox. The difference being, Livyasan souls are souls from Alma de Iskasya, from the concealed world. These are very, very great tzaddikim. And Shiur souls, the wild ox souls, are more ordinary souls. Neshamas of Alma de Isgalia, from the revealed world. And the Medrash says that in the time to come, Hashem will make a knigya, a fight, a duel, a chase between the Leviathan and the Shiur, and the Leviathan will slaughter the Shiur with his fins. The implication being, says the Rebbe, that the souls that are at the level of Leviathan, the souls from the concealed world, slaughter, or as the Talmud says, that v'shochat, the expression v'shochat, slaughtering, is umashach, drawing. They draw in the souls that are in the at the level of Shiur, the souls from the revealed world. They draw them into their level, into a higher level of kedusha. So the Rebbe asked, in other words, this is the idea of avodas Hashem, serving Hashem. If that's the case, ask the Rebbe, why then is this duel, is this fight taking place when Mashiach comes, in the time to come? We know that the battle takes place now. So the Rebbe began to explain the difference between Oil Malchus Shemayim and Oil Mitzvahs. That the acceptance of the yoke of heaven is different, is higher than the acceptance of the yoke of mitzvahs. The acceptance of the yoke of mitzvahs, that Rebbe explained, is in the revealed spheres, in the manifestations of Hashem, and the acceptance of the yoke of heaven is related to the very essence of Hashem. And the Rebbe explained, because the idea of accepting the yoke of heaven is, in the simple sense, is you just accept the yoke of Hashem without any conditions or implications or details, which means you're accepting the essence, the very essence of Hashem. And the Rebbe explained that even in the Ein Sof Shelifnei HaTzimtzum, the God's infinite light before the contraction, there are different levels. There's Malchus, the Ein Sof, the lowest level of the Ein Sof, where the Tzimtzum, the contraction, actually took place. Then you have the Keser of Malchus, the Ein Sof, the crown, or as it's otherwise known, the desire of Hashem to create the world. But that desire to create the world was triggered by Hashem consulting, so to speak, with the souls of Yidden, which means to say that the image, the vision of the souls of Yidden came up in Hashem's imagination, as it were, and that is what caused him to decide to want to create the world, which followed with the Tzimtzum, with the contraction, and then, of course, all of creation. So therefore, this indicates that the soul of a Yid is rooted in the very essence of Hashem, beyond even Hashem's desire to create the world, because it is the vision of a soul of a Yid serving Hashem that causes Hashem, that triggers Hashem's desire to want to create the world, and everything follows from there. So that's where we're up to. We're up to page Reish Pei, towards the end of the first paragraph on the page. We'll start from the line which is Horotzen. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines from the end of the paragraph. Umizem Muvan. So because of the Yidden, this caused Hashem to make the decision to desire to be a king, to desire to create the world. Umizem Muvan. From this, it's understood Sheheim, that the souls of Yidden, are even higher than the aspect of Hashem's desire for kingship, which comes about through them. Are you with me? Yeah? How do we draw down this aspect of godliness, this drawing down this from this very high level where the souls are rooted? This is specifically through the acceptance of the yoke of heaven. As explained in the Mamarim of Rosh Hashanah being Nachtorah, concerning the crowning of the king, which takes place on Rosh Hashanah. How does this crowning of Hashem come about? Not through comprehension, and not through feeling, but specifically through the nullification of the nation. It's specifically through nullification that one awakens, one arouses Hashem with a desire to kingship. Why is this? Why indeed is bittul, nullification, that which touches the very essence of Hashem? Because what is bittul? Bittul is the idea of the person setting aside himself, meaning himself entirely, right? So him setting himself aside and accepting Hashem, what does that trigger? That touches Hashem himself also, the very essence of Hashem, which is even beyond Hashem's desire. Therefore, it has the ability that once you touch the very essence of Hashem, you could then also, of course, cause that to awaken Hashem's desire. But that's already, as it were, a result. This is the meaning of the saying of the sages, that a person should always first accept upon himself the yoke of the kingdom of heaven before he accepts the yoke of the kingdom of the yoke of mitzvahs. That is why in Shema, that's the order, because the first portion of Shema speaks about Kabbalah El Malchus Shamayim, and only the second portion, V'hayim Shemaya, talks about Shemaya Tishma El Mitzvah, talks about the acceptance of the yoke of mitzvahs, because it is the acceptance of the yoke of the souls of Yidden, which is Magiyah B'Ha'atzmus, which touches the very essence of Hashem, Umisham, and everything follows from there, Umisham, and also in the context of what we're explaining over here, from there, from touching the very essence of Hashem, from linking into the power of the very essence of Hashem, we are infused with the koyach, with the strength on the Tzorach HaMelchama to be victorious in the battle with the Yetzirah and the Nefesh Habamis and so on and so forth, which we battle with in our Avodas Hashem. That is why. So now we have to. What does this have to do with L'Osid Lovei? The question was, why in the time to come? Why in the time to come will this duel, will this fight take place between the Knigia, between the souls of the world of the concealed world, and the souls of the world of the revealed world, and the Leviathan, souls from the concealed world, slaughtering or drawing in, winning the battle? Why in the time to come? With this we will understand that which is written in the Medrash. Then in the time to come, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make this fight between the Leviathan and the wild ox for the tzaddikim. Why is that? The hinin is boiled ill, for it was explained earlier. Where? In the previous Maimer that we learned, in the Maimer Kimei Tzeischa of Achron Shal Pesach, what did we learn over there? Then at the time to come, there will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem. Right? That's why we say over there, that even those wonders that are usually concealed and unseen, when Mashiach will come, they will be seen. Why? Because then there will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem. So therefore we will see everything that stems from Him, including those wonders that are usually unseen because they come from this very high level of Levadai, from the very essence of Hashem. So once the very essence of Hashem is revealed, everything is revealed. This is also the meaning of the verse in the Navi Yirmiyah, that in the time to come, no man will any longer teach his fellow, etc. Leimer to say du es havaya. No man will say to his fellow, know Hashem. Why? Ki kulam yedu eisi, because they will all know me. In other words, there will be no need for teaching, it seems, about Hashem. Why? Because there will be revelation of godliness. I know. Because there will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem. What does it say in the verse? It says, no one will say to his friend, know Havaya. You should know Havaya, to teach him about Yudke Vavke. What's the implication? It's not an implication about, we're not talking here about the very essence of Hashem, we're talking about the level of godliness which is symbolized in the name Yudke Vavke. What does that mean? The name Yudke Vavke is already, as it were, an emanation, a manifestation, a revelation from the very essence of Hashem. Because in the time to come, there will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem. Which is beyond Hashem's name Yudke Vavke. Not only is it beyond Hashem's name Yudke Vavke, but it is even beyond Yudke Vavke itself. This is the idea of it says in Pirkei Rabbi Lezer that before the world was created, what existed was He and His name alone. So we see that His name, Yudke Vavke is one of Hashem's names, His name is not He. It's already a revelation, a manifestation of Him. Right? And in this aspect of his name, of Hashem's name, Yesh Beis B'chinas, there are two aspects to it. As we learned earlier, Hagili le'atzmei v'hagili k'mei sheshayach le'elamis. There is the revelation of the Hashem's Eid Ein Sof as it is for himself, and then there's the revelation of Hashem's Eid Ein Sof as it is already associated with worlds. If you remember, we learned about Tzimtzum, that there's Etzem Ha'er, the very essence of Hashem's Eid Ein Sof. Then there is the Gilei Ha'er, there's revelation of Hashem's Eid Ein Sof, and in the revelation of Hashem's Eid Ein Sof, there is the revelation as it relates to himself, and then there's the revelation as it relates to the world, and in the lowest level of the revelation of Ein Sof as it relates to the world, that's where the Tzimtzum took place. So, but all of this is still in the mode of what? Shmoi, his name. In the time to come, it will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem, which is beyond even, higher even than what? Than the level of Shmoi, this Eid Ein Sof, it'll even be higher than what? The level of who? Who, when we say he and his name alone, he generally is a reference to the Etzem Ha'er, the very essence of what? The very essence of Hashem's Ein Sof. But that is still, as the Ein Sof, that is the Ein Sof which is undiscernible. But nevertheless, there's still some aspect of, as you were, manifestation. What will be when in the time to come? We're going beyond all the levels, beyond even the highest levels of Ein Sof, which is symbolized in the word who, meaning he. What's going to be then? It'll be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem himself. The Gilui Zeh, and this revelation will be to all equally. V'hainu, what does that mean? It'll be to all equally. There will still be differences among the Yidden in perception and understanding and in level. So what does it mean it'll be to all equally? V'hainu, the Av Shegam Oz Yiyeh Chiluk Madreges. For although even then, when Mashiach will come, there will be different levels. This will only be insofar as comprehension, which is where in the levels of Shem Havaya the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. So over there will still be differences between one Yid and another Yid, depending on his level of understanding and perception. But in the aspects of the very essence of Hashem, which is beyond Shem Havaya Oisi, me, myself, meaning Hashem himself, there will be no differences of levels. All will know me. All will equally have this idea, this aspect of knowing me, knowing Hashem himself. What does it mean, Yedu Oisi, knowing? If you learned in Tanya, what does the Alter Rebbe say? Hadas, what's das? Das is Meloshen V'Odom Yoda is Chava. It's the idea of connection, fusing. Ki kulam Yedu Oisi, all will be fused with me. All will be fused, the very essence of Hashem. Shu inyana iskashrus and Neshama Ma'atzmas. This is the idea of the tying, the Neshama being tied with the very essence of Hashem. The Mashakos of Yedu Kan, the meaning of the word Yedu over here is Ein HaKavanah Livyasan Zeh Yatzartah. This does not refer to knowledge and comprehension, but rather to Yediyah, to connection, to fusion and connection, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. And since in the time to come will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem, that's why then there will be this fight, this duel, this battle that Hashem is going to make for the tzaddikim. Why? Because as the Rebbe explained before, if not for the infusion of Hashem's very essence in this battle, we can't win the battle. We need to link in. It's only because a Yid is linked into the very essence of Hashem that he has the power to win this war. Because so far as the lower levels are concerned, either Esav and Yaakov are equal, or Toyu, which is the source of Esav, is higher than Tikkun. So how is it that a Yid could win the battle? That's only because he links into something which is beyond everything, which is what? The very essence of Hashem. And when will that be revealed? When Mashiach comes. Because it was explained earlier, if not for Hashem's help, which is the assistance that comes from the very essence of Hashem, one would not be able to prevail over the opposite of Kedusha. This is because the war that the wild ox wages, and he fights with his horns, against the Livyasan, it's a very, very hard war. Because the Sheirabat is called the behemoth upon 1,000 mountains. What does it mean, the behemoth upon 1,000 mountains? It's a pasuk at Tilim. This Sheira Bar, which is called the behemoth of 1,000 mountains, there are two definitions in this meaning. The first is that he consumes, every single day he consumes the beasts that exist on 1,000 mountains. The second one is that he eats, the second definition is that he eats the grass of 1,000 mountains daily. In the spiritual sense, it means that you're talking about a very formidable force indeed. Therefore, the battle with this type of behemoth is a very, very difficult war, a very difficult battle. So how do we prevail? And we need the assistance and help, specifically from where? From the very essence of Hashem. We'll move on. It's understood. It doesn't mean so the Rebbe goes, so what does it mean? So that'll be when Mashiach comes. So why do we need to do anything now? If when Mashiach comes, there's going to be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem, and that revelation doesn't exist now. So what do we have to do anything now? So it doesn't mean that it all happens just by itself. It all happens by the force of the very essence of Hashem, without any effort or work on behalf of the person. Certainly there must be work and toil, specifically. As is known, the saying, which is quoted by the Friedrich Rebbe, that by Chassidim, there's no room. It's not acceptable, anything which is b'derech meila, that happens automatically on its own, without effort. So therefore there needs to be effort. So we do the Avodah, and that's what we do now, before Mashiach comes. But nevertheless, as a result of the difficulty of this battle, of the war, since it's such a difficult battle, since we're contending with such a great force, the victory can only come when we link into the strength of the power of the very essence of Hashem specifically. That is why this duel, this battle, it means basically the culmination will be when Mashiach comes. Because now the very essence of Hashem is concealed. So therefore, because of the difficulty of this war, it's not possible to know who will be victorious. As is known as the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, what do we accomplish now? We draw down additional divine lights, but where? It's all stored in Atzilus, in the realm of Atzilus. But the actualization of the victory is not actualized in this world. Specifically in the time to come, when there will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem, that's when the victory will be in actuality. That's when also there's going to be the idea of laughter or pleasure. As the sages say in the same Talmud that it brings before, that on the fourth quarter of the day, Hashem sits and plays with the Leviathan. The Talmud over there says that when will that take place? In its fullness, it'll take place when Mashiach comes. That's when there will be the great pleasure of Hashem. As our sages say, that from the day the temple was destroyed, there is no laughter. As we say in Shir Mailis, then our mouths will be filled with laughter. When is then? When Mashiach will come. This is the idea of pleasure, which comes as a result of in actual fact, being victorious in this battle. This is one interpretation of why the Knigia, this battle will be la'asi, that means the culmination of the revelation of Hashem's very essence and the actual revelation of the victory of the war. Says the Rebbe in chapter 5, another aspect is in this, to explain this idea of the battle in the future time. That through the victory of the Leviathan, that he slaughters the Sherabar with his fins, the Hainu, which as explained earlier is Hainu. Through the love and fear of the righteous, which are at the level of the fish of the sea, what do? Moishchim. Well, that's the idea of shechting the Sherabar. They draw, Mailim, and they lift Gam Bechinas Sherabar like Kedusha. Also, the Neshamas, the souls that are at the level of Sherabar, they lift them up into Kedusha Canal, as mentioned before. So what happens to the Leviathan as a result? Through this, Nasis Aliyah Gam Intel Tzadikim, this also causes an elevation in the tzaddikim shem bechinas Livyasan that are at the level of Leviathan. This means that when the righteous effect an elevation in the wicked, this causes them also to be lifted even to a higher level than they were before. Similar to what is known concerning the descent of the soul down here into this world, although the neshama itself does not need any fixing, the godly soul doesn't need any fixing, and the godly soul did not descend into this world for itself. but it rather only descended in order to refine the body and the animal soul. Nevertheless, as a result of coming down to this world and working with the animal soul and the body, this causes also an elevation in the godly soul. So too it is also concerning the souls of Leviathan when they affect the souls of the Sherabat. This is also true concerning the effect that tzaddikim have in the Rishayim. They said through the fact that they work with them is misalim gamat tzaddikim atzmam. This causes also the tzaddikim themselves to be lifted. This is also the meaning of the saying of our sages in Baba Kama. Over there he discusses the idea of when a person steals a sheep or an ox and he sells it, and then he's caught, so he has to pay 4 or 5 times as much, depending if it's an ox or a sheep. So over there, he asked him a question: what happens if it's an ox of partners and other things? So one of the Amoraim over there gave him an answer, and then in the morning he said, "I'm sorry, I wasn't accurate. Why?" He says, "Because I didn't eat the fat meat of an ox, because meat of an ox opens up the mind." But in the spiritual sense, it means because I didn't eat the meat of an ox. Like Rashi says, I wasn't accurate in the reasoning of the matter. What's the idea of meat of an ox in the spiritual sense? It's specifically the meat of an ox, not the meat of a fish. Specifically the meat of an ox, which is the idea in the spiritual sense. This means the refinement of the wild ox, which is the subject of our maimer, which means working with those lower neshamas. That brings about nasa diktuk b'taim shel davar. This enhances one's reasoning in the matter, which means in the more deeper sense, this is the revelation of the reasons for Torah, the reasons behind the Torah, which means the deeper levels of Torah, pnimis Torah, which is also connected to today, which is like Ba'emer, Rashbi, pnimis Torah, she's gal la'osid, which will be revealed in the time to come, which will also bring about then the idea of laughter, pleasure, ukanal, as mentioned before, then there will be the revelation of the very essence of Hashem, and there will be the connection of Yid's neshama with the very essence of Hashem's infinity.